Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's Monday, and that means it's time for the Wrestling Inc. Monday Night Raw after show. And have we got a show for you? The Women's Championship was on the line. Judgment Day has fallen apart, and there's a whole bunch of money in the bank fallout. But before we get into all that, allow me to introduce the crew. The crew is just two this time around. It's me, Jack Farmer, along with future WWE Hall of Fame referee Jimmy Korderas. Jimmy, when's it happening? When you're going in?
Hey, I can't reveal those things, brother. You know me. I like to keep them secret, but that would be an awesome honor to be inducted into. Like, I'm already inducted into the New England Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Yeah, so it just makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
I'm gonna keep pounding that narrative, Jimmy, that you should go into the Hall of Fame. It's going to happen one of these days. I believe it. And it should happen, not just because I'm saying it, but because you deserve it.
Well, I appreciate it. That does mean a lot. And to all our friends out there who are celebrating tomorrow, happy 4th of July. Have a happy and safe one.
Yeah, I was going to say today, Jimmy, you are an honorary American on 4th of July Eve here, where we're celebrating the birth of the United States of America. And here in America, we believe that's a worldwide holiday.
Okay, but July 1st up in Canada is our birthday. So we celebrated this weekend.
Oh, was I Canadian for a day?
Yes, you were. You had to just say, yeah, A?
I was Canadian, eh?
Yeah.
So thank you so much for everyone who's joining us in the chat. We're gonna have a good one today. I'm feeling a little frisky with the chat today, Jamie. I might pull up a few of these that aren't super chats even. So if you're feeling like pitching in on the show, say a few words. I might call you out here. But yeah, like, comment, share, subscribe while we're at it. Before we get into the show, we've got some news that's circulating around. We always like to start with that, but before we even get into the news, Jimmy, this was a big weekend for pro wrestling. Money in the Bank was a doozy of a show. Overall thoughts on the show, since we didn't have a podcast for it this time?
No, I thought overall it was a good outing. It's a good time. I don't think there was a down moment in the show at all. You know what I mean? There were some nice surprises that nobody saw coming and didn't get leaked out, which is even the better part. Because a lot of times, people say, well, I heard so-and-so and so-and-so is showing up. But this one, we got John Cena, we got Drew, we got other surprise. And, even the Money in the Bank winners, you could make a case for those that you wanted to win that didn't win. But at the same time, there's no reason why we have to be upset with the winners that actually won the Money in the Bank. You know what I mean? So overall, it was a very good pay-per-view. And if you didn't get to see it, I strongly advise you to, because the last couple of pay-per-views from both companies have been something to go back and see.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And it's funny, obviously going into this, I had my pick of who I wanted to win in LA Knight for the men's Money in the Bank. He didn't win, and you would think I'd be disappointed, but I feel like the way things are evolving and setting up, I think it was the right. WWE for the past year or so has definitely been doing a lot of, it's not what I thought I wanted, but it turns out to be what I wanted. You know what I mean? I think like a lot of people, I look back and you see Jey Uso get the pin on Roman this weekend and how big that was, retroactively going back to all the other previous people that we wanted to be the one to get the win, whether it be Cody or Sammy or even Drew McIntyre back in Cardiff. Roman hasn't even lost the title yet, but in this moment, I'm like, yes, this was the right move, to be patient and let's get to here instead. And that's how I feel about a lot of these things. And even Damian Priest with the briefcase, I know Justin was one of the few people I think I'd heard who was totally on the Damian Priest is winning Money in the Bank bandwagon. So I got to give a shout out to him. But even now looking back, I'm like, this is great what they have here, what they're doing with that and what they're doing with Roman and what they're doing with Seth. And I think that LA Knight is going to be fine. Knight's going to get where he needs to go.
He's massively over. The kid's got money printed all over him. The kid, I sound like the old grizzled vet here. But no, he ticks all the right boxes. It's just be patient.
Yes.
Yes, we do. We want it yesterday, but at the same time, give it time, because this, like I said, he's got money written all over him.
And like I said, they've been so usually in the past, I would say, whoa, you can't you can't you gotta, you can't just assume they're going to push somewhere and it's going to go well, because anything could happen. But like I said, over the past year, they feel like they've been very good about getting the right people where they need to be. In general, I'm sure there are people in the chat who will say, well, what about so? I'm not saying everything's perfect, but I'm saying in general, they've definitely done a good job.
Yeah. I just hope that he doesn't get Wardlow.
Yes. That's the fear. Poor Wardlow, he'll get there.
I hope so.
But speaking of Money in the Bank, and we'll talk about him in a little bit, there's a little bit of news of Drew McIntyre, who made his return to the WWE. Triple H said that Drew being off TV had nothing to do with creative issues, which is what was circulating around the internet. However, Fightful says that his contract expires in early 2024, and he still hasn't re-signed. Now, Jimmy, this was something I was very interested to talk to you about. Is it, and I don't know if this is something that you would have seen firsthand, but wrestlers re-signing, is it pretty common that they wait till pretty close to the contract expiration for the sign? Like, is this not news? Does that make sense? Like, is this too early for it to be news if the contract doesn't expire until 2024 anyways?
Yeah, probably a little bit too early, because like right now, it is beginning of June, pretty much.
Right.
Or
June, or July.
Or July, sorry. See what I mean? I know time flies, but hey, look, I've seen, over the years where, guys have let it run close to when their contract runs out, and guys signing early, and re-upping their contract, well before their contracts are up. So it's all a matter of whatever is going on, because what's going on behind closed doors, we don't know. We can only speculate. We hear rumors and that sort of thing. As far as the situation with Drew McIntyre, I guess early 2024 is what he said.
That's what Fightful's saying. I'm just going off of that report.
Right. Now, if that's the case, then they're investing a lot into him until then. Because, it looks like he's on his way after tonight, too. We'll talk about it. But he looks like he's on his way to a big-time match at SummerSlam, at least. So, hey, who knows? Maybe this is a way to try and entice him to re-sign, or maybe it's just another one of those things to get people who think they know talking.
Right. Well, I always think stuff like there are discussions about creative. I feel like, and again, I've never been a pro wrestler renegotiating a contract, especially one on the level of a Drew McIntyre, but I imagine every time a wrestler resigns, they're curious about what's going to go on with creative. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure every person goes, before I sign, do you have any plans for me? Like, what's the plan? So it's one of those things where I believe that, yes, there are conversations about creative, but I don't think that that's necessarily an issue. I think that's just part of how it is. I'm like when a football player, an American football player, it's the 4th of July almost. So, I'm sure when they sign with the team, they're like, hey, am I going to be a starter or am I going to be on the bench? I'm sure that's part of their conversations too. I don't think that necessarily means there's thunder in paradise. I think that's just part of typical contract negotiations.
No, absolutely. And you can say, hey, look, we will work on something. And look, and I know a lot of people say, I want creative control over my character. Yeah, you do get it to a certain extent, but at the same time, you pretty much do what they ask you to do.
Yeah.
It's just the way it works.
And speaking of Mike Rouse in the house, by the way, it says, I've been telling people Drew was in Germany with WWE and Special Olympic World Games. Went on to continue saying, because Jack, I'm a Special Olympic athlete from Missouri. So one, awesome. Congratulations on that's very cool to hear. But also insider information. So I'm gonna take that to the dirt sheets and say, I got insider information. Who's your source? Mike Rouse in the house. And you're not supposed to give away your sources. I'm not a real journalist. But no, that's very cool, Mike. Thanks for letting us know that. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff to get to, and we're going to go through this show. But before we do, as always, thank you to everybody who is with us. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all the good stuff that you know what to do. But I want to give a shout out to everyone who is live in the chat with us. Bernie DC, we got Budweiser, we got Dream Realm Studios, Dylan Matthews, Laura Rock, Mike Rouse, Ricky Zaldivar, Stephen Camp, Tuck Graff, and so many more. Nelly Belly rolling through, KOD coming through, Laura Rock, and many others. Thank you so much for being here. And Yeah, I was saying it. I was saying it earlier. I think I'm going to be I think I'm going to start throwing in some of these, even if they're not super chats. Let's get some fun conversations going here. We got even Zook Enigma with the thumbs up. Jeff Lopez, Big John saying hi. Big John, I haven't seen you in the chat before. Thanks for rolling through. Yeah, if you're lurking, say hi. Just say hi, and then you can go back to lurking. Let me know you're out there. It's always fun. We get to the show. Let's start this show, Jimmy. Seth Rollins comes out and reminds us who all the winners at Money in the Bank were. I got to say real quick, Collision was great, by the way. I know. Listen, I read the comments. People think we don't cover AEW. I watch AEW. Collision was fantastic. It was another great show. I am excited to. I'll be honest. I developed a soft spot for Roderick Strong, so I was a little bummed out he lost. But of course, I've always had a soft spot for Samoa Joe, so I was okay with
my only worry is the time slot. You know what I mean? That is a tough time slot for them. And yes, they have been putting on some good outings the last couple of weekends, but it's just that 8 to 10 time slot on Saturday. Almost want to think about maybe pushing it back to like the old days of Saturday nights and do a 6:05 thing.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I love the 05 when it comes to wrestling stuff. I don't know why that's so. I never understood why they did it in the first place, but for something about it, I like. I don't know.
That way, that genre could, watch the show. It's over at 8:05, and you still have plenty of time to go out and do your thing.
By the way, Kier Kemp and Jeroy J hanging out, and Big John. Did you change your name? I've seen your name before. I just feel like I don't see it all the time. Maybe I'm just not looking down. I try not to look down at the computer too much because then I look back at the video and I'm like, guys, You just see my forehead. So I try to keep the head up. Be ready for TV. Stalking you with the dog emoji and Biggie D. Good to see you, Biggie D. Thanks for coming through. Dylan Matthews with the harshest truth of all. Samoa Joe has a soft spot for nobody. But anyways, let's get into the show. Seth Rollins reminds us of all who the winners are from Money in the Bank when Cody Rhodes comes out. But before he can finish his catchphrase, Brock comes out and we get a brawl. Later in the night, after a wardrobe change, of course, Cody Rhodes comes out and speaks with Jackie, who is enjoying her first night on Raw. And Cody says he's not done yet with Brock. A couple things. I felt like it was kind of rude of Cody Rhodes to interrupt Seth Rollins if he wanted to talk about Brock Lesnar, and he came out all dressed up and everything.
Yeah, he came out dressed ready to wrestle. It looked like, you know what I mean. And really quickly, let me throw it out here. My old colleague Jackie Redmond, congrats, yes. Good to see you on Raw. But here's my thing though. You start off the Seth Rollins and you get the crowd doing his entrance song and him playing along. And just before he can get started on his promo, Cody, another big baby face, interrupts and we get the same sort of thing because the crowd loves to chant his entrance song as well. It almost felt like, as entertaining as it was, even with Brock coming out and him and Cody getting into it, it almost felt like they pushed the world champion to the side a little bit. You know what I mean? And here's a time when you're, with a fairly recently created title and Seth doing a great job of it, making that title look meaningful. At the same time, something like that made it feel like, it's an afterthought, especially the way Seth kind of snuck out the back of the ring.
Yeah.
While the altercation was going on, going like, oh, you got to be kidding me kind of thing.
It did. It was weird in that it had that, it had like almost a post-Mania feel at this beginning where like all this stuff was happening and people were returning and you see this potential, what I thought was going to be a clash between Cody and Seth Rollins, which to me feels like big SummerSlam main event kind of thing. But then Brock's coming out and like, oh, never mind. But you're right. It did kind of make it feel like, oh, forget the world champ. It worked. I was into it because it was chaotic. But then I feel like from a structuring standpoint, you would think, why is Seth out there to start? Why doesn't Cody Rhodes just come out or whatever? I don't know. So like it's one of those. This is where, as a person who reviews shows, you got to be careful because in the moment I was like, "This is fantastic," but now when I'm looking back at it, now I'm starting to question it, and I'm like overthinking it a little bit, maybe.
That's what I do. I overthink everything.
Dylan Matthews, Cody with more costume changes than a Taylor Swift concert.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll take his word for it.
Michael says Priest has to cash in on Rollins. He can't cash in on himself on SmackDown, or by himself on SmackDown, I assume he means. But yeah, I don't think he's cashing in on. I don't think he's going to cash in on Roman. So I looked at my notes and said Seth Rollins, and I was like, no, that is who's. Anyways, it's the day before 4th of July. I'm already ready to party. Okay, guys.
There you go.
You're probably gonna hear my dog a whole lot throughout this. I heard a dog. It's fireworks are going off. My dog wants to be a part of the party. Sorry, guys, you're gonna hear him quite a bit. I'll try to mute when I can. But Seth Rollins, he's back out there because he didn't get to say what he wanted to say. And before he gets to say it again, Judgment Day comes out without Finn Balor. And Damian Priest says he can cash in anytime. But Seth's like, dude, take it from me. You want me to be beaten up first. That's the way you do it, which kind of cracked me up before they eventually get Rhea to ask for a match with Dominic. And that's going to happen later tonight. Jimmy, tell me what you thought about the second part of Rollins' promo.
I thought it fit perfectly with the first part, him getting interrupted again and setting up what we got later on in the evening. Again, though, it's just too much going on with outside influences, if you know what I mean. And I like the fact that Seth said in his promo, like, oh, I see this as a setup happening a mile away. You know, this isn't my first rodeo kind of thing. You know what I mean? But at the same time, not backing down like a true babyface, saying, yeah, Dom, I'll face you. And you know what? I'm ready for you too. Don't worry. I got my eye on you.
Yeah, and I love this is so good for Seth Rollins, who does have probably the consensus pick for best cash-in of all time. And the fact that he's been on the other side of the tracks a little bit, it shows that he's not. Sometimes when guys play the good guy, they become like the dopey good guy, you know, where they're suddenly naive to what people could do to them. Where I like that he was kind of like, look, man, this is how you do it. You wait for the right time. You wait till I'm beaten up. You take advantage of me. And this is a trap. But also, I'm Seth Rollins, so I'm going to fight you. I thought it was fun. It was a cool move. We also got real quick. William is asking about Justin. Justin's doing fine. He's just taking a break with the family, enjoying the 4th of July holiday. So recharging. And he's not checking his phone, so he does not have any idea of what happened. So what's happened on these shows?
That's one of the things I've learned, that if you're going on vacation, you know, I get it. You're a huge wrestling fan, but you can leave wrestling alone for 2 weeks, and if you want to stay married.
Yeah, I would say it's good to take a break every now and again too. It's fine to miss this show. This show rolls on forever, as you know, Jimmy. Like you don't need to miss. You can miss a few things. It'll be fun.
And you can get caught up. It's easy.
Yes. I mean, they'll show you enough recap videos. You're gonna get caught up.
We saw a bunch of them tonight.
We absolutely did. Fortunately, WWE's really good at those things, so it's okay. Dream Realm Studio saying Seth's stuff was fun. Yeah, I'm a big Seth Rollins fan. Damian Priest. Now, this is where the show is great because it felt like they just kept rolling with whoever was in the ring at any given time. And so Damian Priest has a match with Shinsuke Nakamura. And the real story here is the fireworks that are going on outside my house. But the story here is really conveyed well by Corey Graves, I thought, which was basically how dangerous Damian Priest is with the briefcase, and therefore how dangerous the Judgment Day is as a whole. It's a couple segments long, and there's a little bit of shenanigans on the outside, but for the most part, Damian Priest gets a pretty convincing win over a former Royal Rumble winner and WrestleMania main eventer, Jimmy.
No, absolutely. And it makes perfect sense because you want to look like he is a threat at any time. And he does look like a threat at any time, you know, physically, just from a physical appearance and also from his in-ring work. He looks like he could cash in at any time. And he even looks like it's believable. That's the thing. Like, it's not one of these things. Oh, come on. So-and-so is going to cash in. Nah, I can't see it happening. No, with Damian Priest, you can really see it and go, oh, my goodness. And I like the fact that, you know, he had a match tonight, and still you thought there was an opportunity for him to cash in.
Yes. He definitely, something about him, there's something unpredictable about Judgment Day as opposed to the Bloodline, where the Bloodline, I love that story. I'm not saying it's not a good story. I'm not saying anything negative about it because I think it's the best story in pro wrestling in a very, very long time. But you kind of know certain things aren't going to happen until certain moments with it. Where Judgment Day, and we'll talk about tonight, like, you're right. I was like, he might cash in tonight. If it was Roman, like if it was, rules reversed, if it was like Jey Uso with the briefcase, I think there's no way he's cashing in on Raw. This ain't happening. But with Judgment Day, like, they might just do it. They're kind of wild with the Judgment Day. They'll just do stuff sometimes. So that's what I really love about this group, especially as opposed to the others. Tuck Graff say my dog can bellow. Great use of the word bellow there. And Ricky Zaldivar, your dog is loud. Yeah, he's allowed. He's a big boy. He's a big boy. Chris Bricks, what's up, Double J? Thanks for joining us here. And Gotti Jr., where was LA Knight? LA Knight's a SmackDown guy. I would have loved to see him, but not for today. We move on and we get Ronda Rousey versus Shayna Baszler. Well, they have a conversation, Jimmy. And I'm interested in your perspective on this. I thought this was great. I thought Shayna Baszler comes out and cut an incredible promo about loving pro wrestling and Ronda Rousey not really having to do the hard work it takes to become a pro wrestler at that level. Then we get into a fight. They get into a fight, and Shayna knocks out Rousey. Jimmy, what was interesting to me and what was kind of confusing to me about this is it felt like verbally Shayna was the clear person we're supposed to be cheering for. But physically, it felt like Ronda was the one we were supposed to be cheering for. Did you get that same vibe, or was I mistaken here?
I felt coming. No, it does make sense because coming out of the pay-per-view, Shayna was the one who did the turn. So you're wondering, okay, does that mean that Ronda, we're going to get babyface Ronda out of this thing? That's what you would assume. And when she came out and cut that promo, especially the one saying, you know what, I did the hard work. I set up the rings. I did the driving. I did all this for little reward. Let's put it that way, a monetary reward. And you come in here, backdoored your way in because of who you are, and you took a spot away from someone else. Basically saying, what she said, and with meaning and oomph and with vim and vigor, as they say. Again, felt like she should be the one being cheered because she's the one who's being wronged here.
Right.
But hey, I will give both of them credit because I thought Ronda, her facial expressions and her attitude was a little different tonight. She had a little more oomph in her step, so to speak, especially when she was talking. I've
been a big fan of Shayna Baszler since her NXT days. I'm not saying, I know there's people who were fans of her before her NXT days. That's when I jumped on though. And so I'm really glad it looks like she's going to get a really good possible story here, or something she can really sink her teeth into. That's a little throwback to her fight with Becky Lynch. But when she bit a chunk out of Becky Lynch's neck, was it Becky Lynch? She bit somebody. Anyways, the point is, it's everything she said. This was one of the best promos that Shayna Baszler's cut in a long time. And I don't know if it's because she knew she doesn't get very many opportunities and she wanted to knock it out of the park. I don't know if she felt like she could pull from something real, but Shayna Baszler was fantastic here. And like I said, am completely all on board with her being the person I'm cheering here. I'm a big Shayna Baszler fan. I liked her old music a little bit more. But needless to say, I was so I'm ready to cheer her. But like I said, it was just, Ronda was the one betrayed. And then Ronda was the one left laying going, why did you do this? So physically, all their physical actions feel like Shayna is supposed to be the one I'm booing. But when she's on the microphone, you didn't do anything to get here to earn the spot. I
get exactly what you're saying. But the stuff that Shayna was saying is stuff that the fans were thinking as well. It came from a real place, so to speak, as you talk about putting a little bit of reality behind it, giving her the old, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be in pro wrestling because I'm the one who turned you on to pro wrestling and made you, I was a fan from day one. And I got you turned on to pro wrestling and I brought you, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be here kind of thing, which, in a sense is, I guess, pretty much true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So adding that little bit of truth. And like you said, she cut a heck of a promo, and it was believable because you can feel it.
Yes. This was definitely Shayna's, I guess, debut party is what I'd call it, where like it's her. She's been here for a while, but it definitely felt like, okay, now we're going to get Shayna Baszler. But Dream Realm Studios saying, love her or hate her, Ronda is the Roman Reigns. She is elevating these girls. And I think there's some truth. I feel like if you're in a rivalry with Ronda Rousey, you are someone who's important if you're doing stuff with her. So I get what Dream Realm Studios is saying for sure. Rocky coming through a little bit late. I won't give you a demerit just yet, but you're late to class. Jeroy J saying the crowd was chanting, "Thank you, Shayna," at the pay-per-view. That's got to be a bummer. Like if you're working so hard and people are like saying thank you for getting attacked.
Well, that's the thing. The perception is there that she backdoored her way. The only reason she is where she is because of her name from somewhere else. She didn't earn her stripes in the wrestling business.
Right. So that's why maybe I'm not a pro wrestler. I'd take it too personal. Like, guys, I'm trying really hard. Because it's hard. Everyone says even if you think people aren't taking it seriously, it's still hard work what they're doing in there. Come on now. Gotti's saying Rousey's still a draw. And Michael's saying I look like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I've heard that before. Okay. The one I've gotten the most is Joel McHale. That's the one I get the most.
Okay.
I don't know if I see it, but I've heard it a million times, so I take it.
I see one there from Bernie DC, feeling eventually a first female fight pit.
Would you like to see that?
Hey, it would make sense. That's why, because these two came from that world, so it makes sense. So why not? That would be kind of cool.
I'd like to see. I like it. I like in general anyone getting those like the matches that the females have never had, having them do them, because why not? Why wouldn't they do them? You know, there's no reason why they wouldn't. So
exactly.
Absolutely. Super Saiyan Marcus. Hello, Double J. Good to see you. Laura Rock. A few people have mentioned this. Do you see JD McDonough taking Finn's place in the Judgment Day, Jimmy?
I don't know about that. It's working right now with Finn where he is. So I don't know. That one doesn't click with me right now, at least, anyways.
Yeah, I feel like that's more of a fan theory than it is an actual thing. I mean, it might happen, but like, I don't know. I don't think Judgment Day is adding or subtracting anyone anytime soon. We get a number one contenders tag team turmoil match, Jimmy. Nikki Cross wanted to team with Candice LeRae, but Candice promised Indy Hartwell she would be her partner, which made me feel like I was back in high school trying to find a partner for the science project. But eventually Emma says she'll team with Nikki Cross. Chelsea and Sonya start. They get a quick win over LeRae and Hartwell. Cross then comes in and is more worried about Candice than her own teammate, so they get eliminated. And eventually Chelsea and Sonya kind of dominate their way through this thing and win the whole tag team turmoil. This is a team, Jimmy, that struggled for weeks, but now just came across like a super dominant team. I think I'm a big fan of this team, so I like seeing them win. But do you feel like it's a little weird that they're suddenly unstoppable after taking months of losses?
No, you have to build them back up. The only thing I find weird is, like you said, it happened all in one night. Now, if it happened over a few weeks where you have this, trying to create a number one contenders women's tag team, instead of happening all in one night, yes, it does get them over huge in the fact that they beat all these teams in one night. At the same time, like you said, they haven't won in a while, so having them win all these matches in one night feels like it's all rushed.
Yes,
for lack of a better explanation, if you know what I mean. If it happened over 2 or 3 weeks, you could say, "Oh, wow, okay, they've got their rhythm back," but they got their rhythm back for one night.
Right. The bummer, this is me projecting, and this is why I don't like the fantasy book, because I end up working myself up in a way that for things that haven't even happened yet. But one of the things I'm worried about is they're the new number one contenders, meaning they're going to face Raquel and Liv, who just won the titles. And I can't imagine that they're going to have Raquel and Liv drop the titles, win them right back, just to lose them right back, right away. And so if you just had Chelsea and Sonya dominate the whole tag team division, you even put together new teams to fill up this thing. If they're going to lose, they've then lost like 3 times in a row to tag team champions, but you've also sort of buried the rest of your tag team division in the process. It feels like, I don't know how this plays out. That makes me, in a way that makes me feel like, oh, that was a good thing. Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of creative, minds meeting to try and figure this one out, and without doing the damage that they could possibly do in this one. That's what the problem is. Long-term thinking. Yeah, hopefully there is a long-term plan here. I don't know what it is, but it's going to be a tough one to navigate through. Let's put it that way. That's why I was saying, take your time with this thing. Let it tell a story, as opposed to doing it all in one night.
Yeah, it's definitely. I feel like, for these kind of things. Again, I would think try to drag this out a little bit. Like, you could have just had Chelsea and Sonya versus Indy and Candice LeRae, still done the I'm upset Nikki Cross thing. Then next week you could have had Nikki Cross and Emma versus Candice LeRae and Sonya Deville. Kind of had a similar ending, and then just had them face each team each week. And now you've got a week or a month of them getting wins, then go into a tag team title match. Feels like, this team's hot. They're beating everybody. And we're now, when it happens in one match, for some reason, it doesn't feel like they beat everybody. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I hear it.
So we'll have to see here. But I love the team of Sonya and Chelsea, so I want them to win. That's right. I want them to be the tag team champions.
Right.
And if you don't like that, you can take it up with my manager. We got a few people in the chat still saying sports will always follow Rhonda. It's kind of true. She's still a draw. We got a video package for Bronson Reed. He says he's inescapable. I don't know if there's much to take away from this video package other than Jimmy, I've mentioned it before. These little video packages are so valuable in, like I said before, you can't have everybody on every week, but you give me a little 30-second video package. I go, oh yeah, that guy's great. And you know what? I think there's so many times when we have wrestlers that we love that we don't see all the time. Like, just give me a little 30-second video package that lets me remember who they are. That isn't just they're coming, but like,
it's just funny. I find that they did this one for Bronson Reed, who's been seen the last couple of weeks on TV.
Yeah.
And has suffered some loss. And this almost felt like a reintroductory video to try and get him back on in the good graces of the audience.
It was a weird position he was in, where he wasn't in Money in the Bank, but he was so tied to Money in the Bank, and he was beating everybody in Money in the Bank, but he wasn't in Money in the Bank. It was a very, I don't know, it feels like counterintuitive.
Okay.
I like seeing him out there. I like seeing him win. I think his, tsunami move is something that everyone's getting into, but if I was pitching to you, hey, Jimmy, I have this guy as we build the Money in the Bank. Now, he's not going to be on the show at all, but he's going to beat all these people who are in Money in the Bank and then not be on the show. You'd go, that's not really how it works, Jack. Right. Usually you have the people who are going to be on the show get the wins. And so it's good for him. It's just, again, it feels weird.
Right. I hear you. I hear you, my friend.
Tutgraph's trying to guess the name of my dog, not Macho. I don't know if anyone will guess. If you remind me at the end, I'll let you guys know at the end if you want to try to guess. I think Dylan knows the name of my dog, so Dylan, you're disqualified. But anyone else can.
You did that very well, by the way.
Well, you're the pro, so that means a lot. You know how to DQ people better than anybody.
Yeah.
Becky Lynch comes out. And she wants a fight. So she calls out Trish, and Trish, unfortunately, has a broken face. So Becky tries to put a divide between Trish and Zoe, but it doesn't work. Trish sees right through it. Becky then says that she's the best ever, and Trish is like, no, I'm the best ever. And she would have Zoe go beat up Becky, but Trish has somewhere to be, so they can't do it tonight. Maybe next week. Jimmy, I've said it before. Trish is incredible. I mean, I know that's not like a hot take, but like Trish, she's so good at this. This was perfect. I hate you kind of stuff.
No, absolutely. And again, the subtle little jabs from Becky, you know, that little talent show you do in Canada, whatever, and all this stuff. And, you know, it all, again, sense of realism added to this situation. And like you said, Trish, I think, is underrated for her character. And, you know, look, she could do her stuff in the ring. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, she is someone who has portrayed a babyface character, and she's turned this heel persona into something that is working right now and getting people to go, oh, what a, you know, can I say the word? I don't want to say the word. No. It starts with, let's put it this way, it starts with a B. But anyways,
yes.
You know what I mean? But people are she's getting booed, and that's the whole thing. You know what I mean? I'm not saying she's getting Dom Mysterio heat, but at the same time, you know, here's someone who's loved over the years, and right now she's doing such a great job as a heel in her heel persona that they're starting to boo her.
Yes.
Just tells you how good she is.
I love Michael's comment here. Who has a medical appointment at 9:30? It's true. That's what makes it even more fun. Oh, no. But, yeah, I thought, I know she's not the first person to come out with a face mask like that, but every time a villain does this, I love it. I love the face, the broken face mask thing, and the way she walked out with the hat covering her face, because we all know there was going to be an issue after Money in the Bank. You all knew she got busted in the face, and so it's just everything about it. It's just the way she, like when she's like, I am the face of this company. Like she just believes it, the way she delivers it. Like, well, I am the face of the women's division, and it's great because the person who hasn't been here for so long is the one saying they're the face of the division. Is just incredible stuff. And I thought Becky Lynch did a good job here. Sorry, Baby Ice. I'm going to give Becky Lynch her flowers here. I think that Trish is really getting the best out of Becky Lynch, and in my opinion, I know like there's a lot of Becky fans who are probably like, Becky's always great. What are you talking about, Jack? Well, I'm hard on Becky Lynch. So I thought she's doing great stuff with Trish. I think Trish is really getting the best out of the man. That's right. I'm going to call him.
Right. Gotcha.
Where it looks like we're getting Zoe versus Becky next week. Baby Ice says I got a demerit for supporting Becky, for saying nice job. That's fair. That's fair, Baby Ice. I'll give you that one. Now, are you just biased because Trish is Canadian?
Of course. She, not only that, but of Greek descent, just like myself.
Oh, you know, wow. Double bias.
There you go. Exactly. But no, she's awesome. You know, and seeing someone being there from day one for her, you know, watching her become the superstar that she became, just like, again, a lot of people say, oh, she only got there because of her. No, she got there because she, when I keep saying it, ticked all the boxes.
Yes.
And did it right.
She's absolutely incredible, Trish Stratus. But Nelly Belly with the great comment here. This isn't the first time Trish had a face mask because Victoria broke her face in their hardcore match.
That's right.
It's long-term storytelling. Great throwback, Nelly Belly. Love that. Yeah, Bernie says Jack's finishing move would be the demerit driver. It's going to be Jack's hammer. It's going to Jack Hammer, but I call it the Jack's hammer. But, like I could get anybody up. I'd be like, anyways. Alpha Academy versus the Viking Raiders. We get a little promo earlier in the night, and we get a fun matchup. And after a failed Caterpillar, the Alpha Queen Maxine gets the win for her team. Maxine, undefeated. Jimmy, a few months ago, would you ever have believed that Maxine is going to be one of the more lovable characters on Raw?
No, definitely not, especially when they had her paired up with the other gentleman there. But hey, you know what? It's working. Again, I'm glad that they're utilizing Chad Gable this way, because I think, again, I've said this before, I think he's been underutilized for a long time now. Here's a guy who has the potential given the right circumstance to maybe be the next Kurt Angle.
Mm-hmm.
He just he does everything so well. He could be a serious badass in ring shooter type guy. He could do comedy really well. He does everything really, really well. And pairing him up with Otis, you have a little bit of fun, but you can also get serious with it. And now with Maxine there, it just adds another element to that group.
I always say, like, groups like this, you want to, especially the good guy groups. There should be groups that you want to be a part of. I mean, even the bad guy groups. You're like, I'd love to be a part of the Bloodline. That'd be awesome. I'd love to be a part of Judgment Day. That'd be awesome. This is a group that's fun. Like, you want to hang out with them. You want to be a part of the Alpha Academy and joke around and have a good time and win matches and stuff like that. I think and whenever you can do it without a team being dominant, I feel like that's something super special. I feel like if when the team's dominant, like, of course people like them. But when you're not dominant and you're still loved, I think that's really cool.
Yeah, because like you said, people wanted to see Otis and Chad be more successful. Let's put it that way. And now that they've have a couple of wins under their belt, and the fans, I think, are starting to really gravitate towards them.
Yeah. Dylan saying, Maxine impressed the hell out of me. Gotti Jr. said, I'm sad. I like Rousey, but what you're going to do? You're not the only one, Gotti. Don't worry about it. I think Ronda Rousey has her fair share of fans. See, my dog, he wants to, he took exception to that. But this, Shelbowski with the next comment I wanted to kind of mention. She says, remember when the Viking Raiders were good? I was going to pose it a little bit more kindly, but Jimmy, can the Viking Raiders be seen as a threat again, as someone who, like, you got to watch out for, or is it going to take a bit of a retooling for them to feel dangerous again?
I don't know what kind of retooling you can do, because they went from being almost like a comedy act into a serious ass kickers, but at the same time, the ass kickers who get their ass kicked.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you're going to retool, it's going to be a very difficult retooling, in my opinion. I don't know how you can bring them back and make people go, hey, these guys are a threat.
Yeah, because now when they come out, I always try to think, like, if someone was in the ring and their music hit, would I be worried? I feel like if, like, Seth Rollins was talking trash and the Viking Raiders music hit, I'd be like, oh, he's going to stomp them both. Like, where I think before there was a time when I was like, ooh, Viking Raiders are going to wreck this dude. But Bernie DC, two things I didn't see coming in July: Maxine, the Alpha Queen, being super over, and Ryan Reeves playing for the Maple Leafs.
Oh, okay. Hey, good call. And Max Domi, by the way.
Yes. Yes. Goodfella saying, Gable making this whole thing work for himself. Now others, fun stuff. That's a big deal, Jimmy. True. And I'm sure you can back me up on that. Is like, it's one thing. It's hard enough to be the person that makes yourself popular and gets yourself over with the crowd. But when you're getting other people over too with your shtick, like that is, I mean, I feel like saying shtick is kind of condescending, but like, no. I mean it in like a good way.
Understood, though. Yeah.
Like it's everyone around him is more popular because of him. It's really cool.
No, I agree.
Really cool to see. Jack Russell Terrier, or Jack Rousey Terrier. Is that a Ronda Rousey thing? Yes. No, he's a big old 100-pound pit pointer mix. Wow. He's a big fella. Didn't think he was going to get that big when I got him originally. He's like, oh, he's not going to get to be that big. They were lying to me. They just wanted to offload a big truck, but I love him now. So Jackie is back on the scene, and she's interviewing Ricochet, who has issues with Logan Paul, and he wants to handle it in the ring next week. Jimmy, is Logan Paul going to show up for Ricochet?
I would assume he would. Throwing it out there, you can't throw it out there. It all depends, I guess, on if his shoulder is somewhat healed after that crazy table spot that they did over in the UK and Money in the Bank. But I can see it happening, because they're investing time in Logan Paul, and he's getting the proper kind of heat. And I can only imagine what these two can do in the ring together, because Logan Paul has surprised me, and Ricochet, even though I know that he's very inventive and creative in the ring, still surprises me.
Yeah, what I love about this, I know a lot of people were saying LA Knight versus Logan Paul after Money in the Bank, and I absolutely think that they would have a great rivalry. But what I like about Ricochet versus Logan Paul is, one, those guys are going to tear it up in the ring. It's going to be so exciting and high. Every single match that either of these guys are in, they tend to steal the show. And so both of them in the ring together, going to be fantastic. But also, I want LA Knight to beat Logan Paul. But Logan Paul is on a losing streak. He needs to get some wins going. And I'm sorry, Ricochet, but I think that you're a great person to be someone that Logan Paul beats. So I think that long term, this is a great plan to help Logan Paul get some wins back so that when he faces LA Knight, he feels like more of a threat, but also still get on the track for LA Knight.
Right.
Logan Paul can get his first singles win. Oh, he's never won a singles match? I haven't even thought about that.
Yeah, that's...
Wow. Yeah, he needs
see how surprising things are sometimes. And when you hear it, you go, "Wow, I didn't realize that."
That is such a good proof of the getting over without going over theory, because I still can't believe he hasn't won a singles match. I'm trying to think. I can't remember which one he would have won, but he had to have beaten someone, right? Oh, he beat the Miz. Okay, there we go. But even still, the fact that like you got to go pretty far back for that, so that's still a pretty interesting comment there. We got a comment from Farzana saying, "Hey, could you tell me that WWE India event is canceled?" I don't know what event you're referring to. I didn't know if
I'm not sure.
you had known, but sorry, I don't have any information on that one. Rhea Ripley gets jumped by Natty on the way to the ring for their match, and this time we get a gritty Natty who almost gets Rhea with the sharpshooter. Rhea overcomes and retains, attacks Natty until the tag champs Raquel and Liv come out to make the save. Later, Io flashes the briefcase, and Rhea is upset about Raquel. Jimmy, what I love about this is we're lining up a kind of murderer's row of challengers for Rhea Ripley, because I felt going into tonight she didn't have many. Now I feel like she's got a bunch.
Oh, absolutely. And I will say this, they had a heck of a match. I really enjoyed their match. And yes, I get it. A lot of people going into this match didn't see Natty coming out of it as the new women's champion. And, hate to admit it, I was one of those people, but I sat back and enjoyed the match. And I will, at least going into some of those finishes near the end, they had people going, "Ooh, I thought that might have been it." Do you know what I mean? They started to get them, because at first you saw that the fans were kind of like, this is a good match, but we don't see it. But then they got them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And again, to your question, now we're seeing more women coming out, and you're saying, "Oh, yeah, hey, this is getting interesting now." And when you have more than one option as far as challengers go, and there seems to be more than one, things get interesting. And now the women's division is getting interesting.
It just makes it so much better, and it's a hard rock to get out from under. And a lot of times you have like the champion, and then just like random challenger every month. That happens sometimes with different championships, and I feel like they were almost there with Rhea, but tonight in one night I feel like they saved it, because I would pay to see Raquel versus Rhea. I'd pay to see Io versus Rhea. I think you could get a sneaky great Natty versus Rhea rematch. This is like their second one, I think, right? But in any case, I think so. Yeah. I think this was I think different Natty, different style. I think you could even heat her back up to be another challenger. And not to mention Bayley's hanging out there in the, same with Trish and same with Becky. So I think we leave with like 5 or 6 legit contenders for that title right now.
No, absolutely. I agree. But again, Natty reminded us what she is all about tonight. It's almost like we forgot that part of Natty, and she gave it to us.
Yes. We kind of made fun a little bit of her doing the I don't know who I am anymore, but I think she paid it off tonight. It was great. Yeah. Definitely a round of applause for Natty for just a great effort
right
tonight. But it made me wonder if the tag champs are on a borrowed time considering Raquel's already staring down Rhea Ripley. Made me think, is this going to be, is she already eyeing the singles championship? Probably. We get Ciampa with one of his old school NXT promos, and he says he's the kind of guy that's going to punch you in the face where Miz is going to attack you from behind. But after a ton of losses, Ciampa has given Miz that spark back in his eyes that made him someone who was at the top, where Miz responds by saying everyone he took under his wing and eventually stabbed him in the back is gone now. So next week, the best Miz shows up in a no DQ match. This was probably one of my favorite things of the night, Jimmy. But I want to hear your takes on it. Back-to-back pre-tape promos between Miz and Ciampa.
No, I like what both had to say. Ciampa is really good on in his role right now, and Miz we see him in those fun matches, and him kind of getting dominated, and a little bit of that cowardly heel stuff. We got that aggressive, that Miz is pissed off kind of thing, and when he does that thing, it makes people go, "Oh yeah, I remember seeing that side of him, but I haven't seen that in a long time." So this makes this makes this match coming up next week that much more interesting, because we're going to see that different side of Miz that we haven't seen for a while.
Right. And yeah, I agree. I love that, because we've been talking about that for a little bit now, that I've been wanting a Miz I want a serious Miz. I mean, as serious as the Miz gets, but right. I want to see that fire again. I want to see that, him getting wins, because I think he deserves it. And I think I like that Ciampa acknowledged, dude, you're losing all the time, but you're one of the best. You talk about it all the time. I'm going to bring that out of you. And he did bring it out of him. And I like that he also mentioned, I thought it was a good point. Every single time someone stabs me in the back, they're out of here. So good luck, kid, because it's one of those pulling from realities. I mean, in a kind of a sad way. You don't like to hear people losing their jobs, but I think they all actually found a job. So I think it's okay to make the comment. Exactly. But yeah, it's I love it. Like I said, I think it was one of my favorite parts. I think it was one of my favorite parts of the show tonight. Right. And yeah, we'll get a no DQ match. So later on, we get Matt Riddle versus Giovanni Vinci. It's a quick win for Riddle, and we get a post-match beatdown with McIntyre coming out to make the save, and he makes Gunther choose to walk away. Later, everyone is excited that Drew is back, and next week we make it a tag match with him and Riddle. But first, pints. Giovanni Vinci, Matt Riddle. I feel like, I don't know, I felt like Matt Riddle, the rivalry with Riddle and Imperium sort of ran its course, so this felt like a little bit of overflow, but it looks like it's transitioning into Drew McIntyre going after Gunther, and hey, I can't be mad at that.
No, absolutely not, and that's what this match felt like. It felt like this match was used to set up that, and it's exactly where we're going. Like you said, the tag match is setting up, looks like possibly it's going to be Drew and Gunther at SummerSlam probably, which looks to be the path they're going on anyways. And we see a different kind of Drew right now. He looks motivated. He looks like it looks like he wants to be there. So that's when I hear those rumors about, oh, is he leaving? He hasn't re-signed, blah, blah, blah. I don't care about that right now. Right now, he looks like he's motivated. Yes. And I want to see what he does next. And I'd love to see him in a one-on-one situation with Gunther right now.
Yeah, I think, maybe if the stories of his contract being almost up are true, maybe this is that, like, hey, I'm going to show you what you need to re-sign, because he did seem a little re-energized. He did seem ready to be back, and I think that's also one of the nice things about taking some time away for him. I don't know why he was away. I didn't see the real reason why he wasn't away. Hopefully it wasn't anything terrible, but in any case, I think he seemed happy to be back. It looks like he's in great shape. I think Gunther versus Drew is going to be hard hitting, to say the least. Bernie DC with a comment that I was kind of thinking to myself too, Jimmy, what say you? Maybe Drew versus Gunther and RK Bro versus Imperium at SummerSlam. I was thinking 6-man tag, but either way, do we see maybe RK Bro even the numbers game?
I don't know. it doesn't feel like a RK Bro versus Imperium is, a way for Randy Orton to come back. When Randy Orton comes back, it should be something, I almost thought that Randy Orton was going to be the guy going after Gunther before Drew came back. So I thought maybe he would be the quote unquote surprise. But we could possibly see a 6-man, but not at SummerSlam.
It's it's weird because I would love to see RK Bro back. They were a great team. It does feel like the return of Randy Orton is a world title main event situation, though. So I agree with you on that. I feel like I'd rather see him come back in a bigger capacity than a tag team. But then I also think if he is coming back from an injury, probably a good idea to put him in there in something where he doesn't have to do a whole lot of the load,
At first, yes.
So little torn on how I feel about that. But honestly, I'm a huge Randy Orton fan. So if he came back, regardless of what he could come back wearing the 24/7 title saying, I'm bringing it back, baby. And I'd be like, Randy Orton's back 24/7. Let's go.
RKO out of nowhere.
24/7 out of nowhere. Dylan says, if Drew beats Gunther, we riot. Who's with me? I know what Dylan's thinking. I think I'm thinking the same thing. We want Sheamus to be the next Intercontinental Champion. At least that's what I want. I'm just going to assume that's what you want, Dylan.
There you go.
Baby Ice saying 75% of wrestling rumors aren't true is what Hunter I almost said Hunter like Gunther. Yeah. At the press conference. So 25% of rumors are true.
Okay.
I believe if
that's
true,
the math then.
Yeah, I believe if they're true, they're not a rumor anymore. I think it's just a
exactly.
fact.
There you go.
Yeah. Randy would beat Gunther, and Gunther needs to be protected a little bit more. RKO's out of nowhere 24/7. This is why I shouldn't be a booker. Randy Orton is a 24/7 champion, just randomly RKOing people saying, I thought you were going for my title. I would get a kick out of that, but that would be terrible TV. Ron Taylor with a super chat saying, the SummerSlam card should be stacked. Who will be left out?
Wow. That's a tough one. I don't know. Ron, unfortunately, that's what happens in situations like this. Somebody gets left out, but, like you said, it is going to be a stacked card. So it's not like they've been left off the card to allow, something that doesn't meaningless to go on the show.
Right. Yeah. It's very hard, especially when we're 5 weeks out. It's hard to tell who's going to get left off.
Exactly.
And who's not. They do a pretty good job of getting most of the people who are involved in big picture stuff on those shows, though.
Right.
But we get to the main event here, and it's Seth Rollins versus Dirty Dom. Judgment Day gets involved and helps Dom hit multiple frog splashes. Eventually, Rollins reverses it, and he gets the win. Then Priest gets involved and beats the crap out of Rollins. And just before he cashes in, Finn Balor shows up, allowing Rollins to get away. Jimmy, I love this ending. I loved how it made me think, oh my God, he's going to actually cash in. We talked about that a little bit earlier. I love that there's drama in the Judgment Day. I love that Seth Rollins is he knows that he's in danger, but he's having some fun with it. I love this ending. But what about you?
No, it all made sense because, they're telling that story that there is dissension in the Judgment Day because Finn Balor felt that he got that slight distraction from the Money in the Bank winner from earlier in the night. Damian Priest cost him the match against Seth at Money in the Bank premium live event. I have to stop saying pay-per-view, but up here in Canada,
it's so hard.
So, but and this was kind of like retribution. The fact that they mentioned earlier in the night, oh well, Finn Balor's not here, so maybe waiting this long to see him in the night made people think that maybe he's not here. You know what I mean? So it was a bit of a surprise to some people, and then they continue this story of the dissension between Damian Priest and Finn Balor. It's kind of like it's not exactly like what's going on in the Judgment Day, but we're having an issue on a. Do you want to say the top faction, faction on Raw?
Oh yeah,
having an issue.
Yeah,
and this could end up being a factor when Damian Priest does decide to cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase, and could actually cost him whatever title he's cashing in against, whether it's Seth or whoever it may be.
And these are things I think the reason these I think we may have talked about it, but these interpersonal issues in groups and things I think resonate with us is because they're all things that we understand. There was, who was it? I think it was like Jericho spilled coffee on Kane like years ago, and that caused a rivalry where I think it's hard for us to a lot of us to empathize with, because look, if someone spilled coffee on me, I mean, that sucks, but okay, this is, and you wouldn't blow up about it. I get wrestling though, you blow up about it, but being jealous of someone being more successful than your friend, being more successful than you, we all kind of know how that feels a little bit. Or our friend being jealous for us when they should be happy for us. We all have we've all felt that at least to a little bit of degree, so I think we can feel it and it just resonates with us.
That's only a natural human reaction. So why not use it? Because that's again, to make it feel more real. We already have the suspension of disbelief, or at least we used to when we were watching wrestling. Now everybody's looking to pick something apart.
Right. Jericho made Kane's list. That's right. Nelson, by the way, saying Priest should cash in on Rhea and feud with Dom.
No comment.
I wouldn't recommend that, just because there's no way Priest has beaten Rhea Ripley.
No, he doesn't stand a chance.
Even if she's already after a match, there's no way he's gonna beat her. I thought this was I actually thought this was a really interesting show. Everyone, let me know what your thoughts were in the chat. But Jimmy, we've got to the end of it. Any final thoughts or anything like that? And also, where can the world find you online?
No, I thought it was a fun show overall. I thought the women's match was actually the highlight of the night for me. I thought that they really knocked it out of the park, and Natty reminding everybody that where she comes from, that legendary Canadian wrestling family. But anyway, a fun Raw. Looking forward to SmackDown. There's a lot of stuff being already put out there, so you can find me obviously here on Monday nights and Wednesday nights, reviewing Raw and Dynamite respectively. On Wednesdays, usually the Roughing It Up podcast with my good brother in stripes, Brian Hebner, and I, and our host RJ drops. And this week we're doing a Ask Us Anything segment where we're getting fans to just send in questions. We'll ask us anything. We'll answer it as best we can. And of course, you can catch my Ref and Rants on Monday through Fridays on all my social media platforms, where I make a little critique. And again, it's not to tear down, but to help maybe hopefully tighten some screws, in my opinion.
Everyone reached out and asked Jimmy who his favorite co-host is on Wrestling Inc. Put his feet to the fire. No.
Heat magnet.
Even better, ask him who his least favorite co-host is. Stirring the pot.
I can't talk.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for being with us here. Everyone who's in the chat: Stephen Camp, Killer of Demons, Danny Lewis, Tuck Graff, Dream Realm Studios, Baby Ice, Super Saiyan, Zook Enigma, Ricky Zaldivar, Jeff King, Dylan Matthews, Jeffrey Sullivan, and Nelson and Danny and everyone. Wow, we got a good crew here. Thanks so much to everyone for rolling through. Looks like we got an average. We got a few 6.75, 7.37. We got a 10 out of 10 for today, 7 out of 10. So we'll average it out with my quick math. 7.2. We'll call it a 7.2. Okay.
Sounds good.
I'm not the person to trust with math, but whatever. Thank you guys so much for joining us. You can find me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. That's the easiest way to find all the stuff that I'm working on, and you can follow me there. Make sure to follow at Wrestling Inc. I know that we've been a little bit spotty here at Wrestling Inc. with some of the shows. I know we haven't had some after shows up, but it's because people are taking time off for the summer, and we had some people with some personal things. That's the reason why we've been hit or miss a little bit lately, but we should be getting back on track. And NXT, I actually don't know if NXT is going to be on tomorrow because it's the 4th of July, so maybe I shouldn't say. But follow at Wrestling Inc. They'll tell you what's going on. At worst case, we're coming back on Wednesday for AEW Dynamite, and of course Friday for SmackDown. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Haven't had a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts in a while, so one of you good Samaritans just hop on there, give a 5-star review, and say Jack and Jimmy are my favorites. That always makes me feel good. I screen grab it and send it to the bosses and say, hey, check
there you go.
I've never done that, but I'm going to now. Anyways, that does it for us. We'll see you guys tomorrow or Wednesday. I don't know when the next show is. Have a good one.